was the emotional pain of what had just happened to me. The utter degradation that I just experienced. I never once felt that it was unjust or wrong. I heard my voice. It wasn't somebody else's voice. It wasn't the voice of God or anything. It was my voice. And I heard it speak, but I didn't speak it. So whether it's the voice of my conscience or I don't know what it was. It was just, but I distinctly heard my voice say, pray to God. And so I thought to myself, I don't believe in God. Pray to God. And I'm thinking, even if I could pray, I don't know how to pray anymore. I haven't prayed. And at that time, I probably hadn't prayed in 22, 23 years. So I'm thinking, like, when I was a child, and we said prayers in Sunday school, and we said prayers in church, and what did we say? And I'm trying to think of it, because to me, to pray was to recite something that I'd learned. That's what I thought a prayer was then. So let's see, the Lord is my shepherd. Give us this day our daily bread. My country, 'tis of thee. No, that's not a prayer. That's wrong. Let's see. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, 77 years ago, our forefathers. I'm getting all mixed up. I can't remember how to pray. And then the people who are around me, every time I'd mention God, these people who had attacked me and beaten me, every time I mentioned God, it was as if mentioning God was throwing boiling water on them. They would shriek, they would scream, they would yell, and in worse profanity than anything I've ever heard in this world. The other thing that was happening was that they couldn't bear to be around me talking about God. It was so painful for them to hear about God that they kept backing away. And so I had a sense that I could push them away by talking about God. And so I'm trying to remember prayers, and I'm getting all confused and mixed up, and it was just all crazy, and I'm lying there, and eventually I realized that they're gone, and I'm alone. Now, I was alone there for an eternity, and what I mean by that was absolutely no sense of time. But I thought about my life, thought about what I'd done and what I hadn't done. I thought about the situation I was in, and the conclusion that I came to is that I had lived my adult life, I had lived a selfish life. My only God in my adult life was myself. I realized that I was something terribly, terribly wrong with my life, and that the people that attacked me were the same kind of people that I was. They were not monsters, they weren't demons. They were people who had missed it. The point of being born and being alive in this world. They'd missed it, and they'd lived lives of selfishness and cruelty. And now we're in a world where there was nothing else. There was nothing but selfishness and cruelty, and they were doomed to inflict that upon each other and upon themselves, probably forever and ever and ever and ever, without end. And now I was a part of it. And it seemed like, although I didn't want to be there, it seemed like probably the right place for me to be. There was a sense of this is what I deserve, because this is what I lived. You can't imagine how emotionally painful that was.
And that is an interesting story. That we'll continue with that part here on the next edition of Way Out There. But it makes you think, doesn't it now? If you're one of those that doesn't live a very good life and is not connected with Jesus, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens to you. You really have to seriously think about it. I talk about strange stuff like aliens and spacecrafts and different things like that. But I'm here to tell you as a that this show is pure entertainment. It's pretty much all it is. Okay, this show I do way out there. Just entertainment. It's not entertainment value. And a lot of what I play here on this program is not always what of God, but is to tell you that some of these things like aliens from outer space, UFOs and stuff like that, demons. Now recently, as you remember straight, there are like millions and millions and millions of people are saying that when they storm Area 51, and we're going to talk about that briefly. And I'm thinking about doing a show on this as that kind of unfolds. I don't know what's going on. They had a posting the other day and talked about how they want to storm Area 51 looking for aliens or looking for something. They want to find out what's on this compound. And coming up on the next edition of Way Out There, we'll be talking about that. I have Facebook posting on this. I'm going to look it over further. I didn't get a chance to do it in the original prep, but I will do that. But again, like I said before, if you don't have your life right with Jesus Christ, like this professor did, he went to hell. And demons didn't like what he was saying. See, he was turning his life to Christ, and they abandoned him there. In the next part, the story continues in part 2, where he shouts out the name of the Lord, and Jesus Christ saved me, and he went into the light. He went in, and he was covered by Jesus, and Jesus healed him of the wounds that were created by those demons. Absolutely fabulous story. So stay tuned for that in the next edition of Way Out There, and I'll let you know when we're going to air that. You're listening to Way Out There on GJRB Online here on Spreaker, and I hope you're enjoying the program wherever you're listening to across America. We'll do Clinton weather forecast coming up here in just a little bit. It's a hot one out there right now. We're going to take a look at that with weather on the 5s. Here on GJRB Online, we're going to take a look at the Clinton weather. And, of course, we are doing weather on the 5s here in Clinton, Iowa. And this is the current weather forecast that was recorded. This was from a live broadcast July 19th, 2019. So that is what you're going to hear on there. But here's our current weather right now in September 20th, 2019. From Mayor Farms at Eagle Point Station here in Clinton, it's 81 degrees. Feels like 84. Relative humidity standing at 58%. Dew point 69 degrees. So that's why you're getting your relative humidity at that high, 58%. Our barometric pressure, 30.03 inches of mercury. We have a moderate UV index now of 5 with a 63 on the moderate air quality. Tonight, partly cloudy this evening, followed by some light rain after midnight. Low around 70 degrees. South-southeast winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Chance of rain at about 60%. Tomorrow, 90% chance of showers and thunderstorms. The high is 76 degrees. South winds at about 10 to 20 miles per hour. You'll have a chance of rain at 90%. Showers and thunderstorms likely again on tomorrow night. Potential for some heavy rainfall. A low of 63. Winds south-southwest at about 10 to 15 miles per hour. And you have a chance of rain at 100%. Currently now, once again, in our Spreaker studios, just above the Line Shopping District in Clinton, Iowa, 81 degrees. Weather on the 5s, 25 and 45 minutes past the hour on all music shows, 25 and 55 on all talk shows, or any time in the hour that ends in 5, right here on GJRB Online. And now back to Way Out There. Precipitation now 20% tonight, and then tomorrow it's going to get up to 50. Northeast winds at about 5. Tomorrow, minutes of nonstop talk ends just about 5 minutes ago. So we're going to take a program break, and then we'll be right back. I've got more Way Out There to continue right here on GJRB Online, so stay tuned. And like I said before, got the wrap-up of our program. We'll do our guest lineup for Coast to Coast, all coming up next as we continue with Way Out There. on GJRB.
You're listening to Way Out There on GJRB Online. If you'd like to talk to Gary, on Skype at Gary.Russin. If you don't want to get on the radio, you can contact Gary via the chat room on the GJRB public site by clicking the comic book icon on the GJRB widget. And now, back to Way Out There on GJRB.
And I'm Gary J. Russin, wrapping up our Way Out There show. We might even be on just a little bit longer because I don't have anybody following me on this there Spreaker, so I am going to stay on the air just a little bit longer here on GJRB Online. So just to let you know about that. So we're going to kind of stay in the means of our program, just stay on a little longer so that I can wrap up this show and do that. Because coming up, we still got a lot to do. I got shout outs to do. And of course, that's our Spreaker shout outs. So that's coming up. And we also have what's going to be our guest on Coast to Coast this week with George Norrie. So we'll got that coming up. So we'll be doing our guest lineup for Coast to Coast AM, brought to you by Premier Radio Networks, who bring you Coast to Coast on nationwide on many fine radio stations, fine talk stations across America. And you can listen to that show, Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. So I'll be having the guest lineup for that show coming up here on GJRB Online. So keep it here on GJRB Online here on Spreaker for that. Meanwhile, though, let's see we have here. It's time to do our shout-outs here on Spreaker, brought to you by Spreaker. Yeah. The fine people who, you could do a radio show like I do right here on Spreaker. It's always fabulous, Always have the neat stuff here. And, we got some great podcasters on here, some absolutely fabulous ones. And, they put on some good shows. They absolutely do. I love to listen to them. They are always cool. And I enjoy putting these shows on. And even though I don't get the audience they do, I still like to promote their programs. They got some good ones on here. This past week, Tuesday night, the Caramel Conservative was not on. He did not air Tuesday. So that's what happens sometimes, So the Caramel Conservative not airing this past week. But let's see what happens on Tuesday, because every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, Central Daylight Time, 7 o'clock Mountain, 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. Here on Spreaker, it's the Caramel Conservative Ed Delgado. Talks about a lot what's going on in the news, talks a lot about all kinds of interesting things, talks about just brings his opinion point across. Always has a good time doing it. It's the Caramel Conservative Ed Delgado, 8 o'clock Tuesday night, right here on Spreaker. And let's see, we have a lot of other great podcasters. Mike Myers, 7 mornings a week. If you want to get, inspired by the Word of God and And like I said before, at the end of that one last segment, we have to really take Jesus Christ seriously because, this is coming to a time and an end here. And, we need to be right with Christ. And there's some things that I'm going to talk about on a future show. Some of the feelings I have, I know that, some things I'm not right with. And we'll talk about that on a future show. But, like I said before, you want to hear some great inspiration talk? Mike Myers in the Radio Hope Network, 7 mornings a week. He always has something interesting to say. He has interesting guests from time to time. This past week, he had a guy who they were having a good time that one morning. But he has interesting guests once in a while. Play some great music. Check it out. 7 mornings a week. Radio Hope Network. Mike Myers Show. Brought to you 7 mornings a week right here on Spreaker at 8 o'clock Central Daylight. Live. 7 o'clock Mountain, 6 a.m. Pacific. And 9 o'clock, and of course 9 o'clock a.m. in the East for some great talk radio and conversation. Mike Myers, inspiration at its best, the Radio Hope Network. And on the way there, some of the other great people listen to on here include Bob Huber and the Huber Experience. Yeah, he had an interesting show this past week. I like some of the boy. He gets it straight across. He don't play the games. He has fun. Talks a lot about gaming and movies and entertainment and Netflix and all the Hulu stuff. He gets into a lot of it. Gives you his reviews. It's a great program. Check it out. It's the Bob Huber Experience, usually Tuesday and or Thursday. 45-minute increments, 15-minute increments into 45 minutes. Sometimes talks longer. Sometimes it's on an hour. So you have to check this guy out. He's fabulous. It's a Huber Experience, Bob Huber. And he has a great show, so I hope you'll tune into him live, if you can catch him. And, of course, right after we get done here on our 9-foot signal, and, of course, all over Spreaker, 6 p.m. is usually a live broadcast from MTFB. They come out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and the guy who runs that is a guy named, and I like this guy. This guy's name is Luke Flywalker. Yeah, like Luke Skywalker, Luke Flywalker. Anyway, I don't know. Must be a pilot. Anyway, he has a great radio station called MTFB. Now, this is a great music. Has some great DJ lineup, including Zach Friller, and he has some morning music. He has a guy does a Madness, something like that. Let me see if I can find that. It's a pretty wild program, and he puts on some really neat stuff. And this is a great station. I'm going to go into it and see if I can find it. It's called MTFB. And like I said, Zach Riller's one of them. He's fabulous. These are great DJs, and they play some great music and great variety of stuff. Here's the MTFB Radio, Indianapolis, Indiana. Mixed music with Zach Friller. Mixed music and talk with Zach Friller. You can call him at 781-214-0352. Has a great show, plays some great music, great variety. And I don't know, I think he's on 4 to 6 p.m. I think he's on next here on Spreaker. So check him out. He has a good show, and he plays some great music. He has another show called it's 5 p.m. somewhere. I mean, so he has some good stuff. You have to check it out. Zach Friller live, and that's on the MTFB network out of Indianapolis, Indiana. So check that out. Great music and stuff. So those are some of the great stations. Other ones I didn't mention that you can find include Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. There's all kinds of shows about the Bizarre, like I do, so equal shows. They're probably a lot better than mine, and you can find them. They're absolutely fabulous. One of them is KGRA. Now, these call letters are, the 3 of the letters are mine. three of the letters are in my first three letters of my name in reverse, GARY. So I kind of felt connected to this station. KGRA, they're out of Utah, Salt Lake City. They put on some great music and different programs, but they do mostly shows like Coast to Coast, like George Norrie does, the bizarre, the weird, the unusual, stuff identical to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. And KGRA, they're out of Salt Lake City, Utah. They carry another show at night, and which we carry here. It's a pretty good show. It's fabulous. It's Jimmy Church, who takes over for Coast to Coast sometimes. He has his own show. It's called Fade to Black. Great program. Check these programs out. They are right here. You can find them by getting on my Spreaker public site, www.spreaker.com/user/150525, or just go in my Spreaker, go to my Twitter page. I am the Radio Maniac, and just go in there. You'll find the old radio emblem, says GJRB Online down there, and you'll find the widget pops up. You can listen to the show live. When you go in there, it'll take you right to my site. Just go down to my followers, and you'll find every single one of the stations I talk about. Every one of them are on there. So check them out. Caramel Conservative, Ed Delgado, he's on there. Let's see, who else do we have on there? Let's go back to my followers. Let's go back to my page. Let's see. Okay, go back to my page. You'll find all these ones I'm following. And the ones that are my followers. Byron from Wicked Pissa Show. Blake Myers. Yeah, Blake Myers. He's related to Mike. He has a great show called Technical Difficulties. He's been off the air for a while because he is taking a break. He's going to be writing his unicycle in the Ragbri, which I think is next week. Should get a hold of him for a show next week. I think about getting a hold of him tomorrow if he has time. I don't know. He's been practicing for that some time now. So if Ben doesn't make it on the show again tomorrow, I am going to get a hold of Blake for a backup. See if he wants to be on. I want to see how he's doing on his training for the Ragbri event, which is going to be on July 21st from what I understand, which I think is next week. Let's see, what is that? July 21st. Let me see. July 21st, I think, or the 22nd. It starts. It's a 2-day event across Iowa, and let's see. It should be real interesting to see how that comes out. And I'm hoping that maybe the TV and the local media, the statewide media, will pick it up, because I'm hoping that maybe we'd see him in there. So who knows? Who knows? I'm hoping that maybe I could see him. Well, let's see if we can see him on TV. If he was driving through Clinton, in which sometimes Ragbri does come through Clinton, they haven't for a while. But hoping maybe we can run into him sometime. You never know. Yeah, we're getting about 2:58 left in this segment, so we're going to flip over and stay on just a little past 6 o'clock. So we're going to stay on just a little bit longer because I want to get in the next segments here, which will be our guest lineup for Coast to Coast. So we're going to do that. So we're going to get the Coast to Coast guest lineup and a quick preview of our next edition of Way Out There. So we're going to stay on the air another 45 minutes. Okay, so that means that as soon as we flip over, we're going to stay on the air till about maybe 6:35, maybe not even that. If we get all the segments in this next half, we'll go off the air. So we're going to stay on maybe a little past 6 o'clock. Just to let you know about that, a little past 6 o'clock, so we're going to go out here and take a break and do our station identification and be right back for the last part of our Way Out There show. So we're going to do that. Okay? I'm going to take a break here and take a pause for station ID, and then we'll be right back with more Way Out There and the conclusion to our Way Out There show for today here on GJRB Online, here on Spreaker across America. I want to thank you for tuning into the program. I enjoy doing this show, and even though I don't have listeners, I know that we'll have some later on that will be find interesting this segment on After Death, and we'll have part 2 of that After Death segment on our next edition of Way Out There here on GJRB Online. We're going to take a break and be right back after station identification. This is Way Out There on the GJRB Online Network. This is the GJRB Online Network. This is Spreaker FM, KSPR, LPFM, Clinton. And we're in the wrap-up point of our show today, the Way Out There show coming to a close. And we'll be wrapping up this show in this segment. In this final segment, we'll do our program schedule for our guest lineup on Coast to Coast and close out the show with some final comments. Once again, I want to say thank you for tuning in. If you're just listening to this as an after the fact podcast, if you're just listening to this as a on demand, thank you. We'll be watching to see how many people click this program, and we got a lot of people already posted on a lot of the sites. We're going to post this on the social sites, and that's all coming up here on GJRB Online, here on Spreakers. We wrap up Way Out There for today here on GJRB Online, here on Spreaker. And let's see, coming up here in the final part, we're going to conclude this program with a preview, like I said, some of the guests I got coming up. Like I said a little earlier, some of the hopeful guests that I'm hoping on getting on here again. And I've talked to them before about it, didn't get back to them on it, and that was Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio. Looking to maybe get him on, talking about various subjects, including paranormal, UFOs, and these people who want to storm Area 51. So we're going to get into that one. Also, I'm thinking about getting back, because, I'm fascinated about dreams. So I'm thinking about I'm trying to get a hold of JMD Board. He's been on our show before, it's a dream dictionary he wrote. Fascinating topic about what dreams mean, and we're going to have him back on. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have him back on with another show. I'm looking at a possibility of a guest to have him on, because I think he'd be a real interesting guest to be on the program. I really do. I think he'd be really fascinating. So we're going to look at him as being a possible guest. Also looking at another guest on this program, looking to get a hold of some of the other guys who have had guests on their podcast. And some of the podcasters, I'm thinking about getting a guest on, a few of the ones that I follow here on Spreaker. Looking at maybe a few of those. Again, like I mentioned, Dave Scott's one of them. The other one I'm hoping I can get on as a guest is Eric Cooper. And another guy that I've been talking with from time to time is fascinating. He is a very interesting, I know two Walters on here. The other Walter, absolutely fabulous guy. You have to check him out. As a matter of fact, I'm hoping that maybe perhaps we can get this show on Spotify. I'm looking to do that. So maybe the next episode of Way Out There might be on Spotify. I'm looking at a possibility. Let's see what we can do there. But I'm looking at some of the featured guests on this program. Jimmy Church is kind of huge. Don't know if I can get him. But I know I could probably get Eric Cooper. And the man who runs the New West Radio Network is another one that I wanted to talk about. in the shout-outs. I want to shout out to New West Radio Network. They're fabulous. They have old-time radio on there. They have this guy who runs it is looking for people to do a radio story. He does various original stories, multi-part stories. It's the radio serials. So check this guy out. He's fabulous. And he runs this channel called New West Radio Network. Absolutely fabulous station. And they are really cool. He has some really neat stuff. Also, OBFSU, I'd love to have him on a show once. Might get a hold of him for one. Belly Blast, I'd love to have him on. He's also has a great podcast. Check him out if you get a chance. This guy really packs it in, tells it like it is. I'm thinking about having him as a guest on either way here on this program, which I don't know, it wouldn't fit that format, but maybe perhaps I'd like to hear his view on people's trying. Millions of people want to storm Area 51. And I tried to find the article on that, and I can't find it, so I'm going to try tomorrow when I'm on the air to see if I can get an article on this, because it's an interesting one in its own right. It is. So I'm gonna try to get him on the air on a future show. But this guy here, though, his name is Walter Pierce, and he talks a lot about bizarre stuff, and I think it would be great to have him on the show. So looking at possibly getting him on as well, because he has a great program. I was kind of periodically listening to him because he's also on Spotify. So I need to check out his program. I haven't listened to it all the way through, but I'm going to, and see if I can line him up as a guest for a future edition of Way Out There. So some of the guests that possibility of being on Way Out There here on GJRB Online. And I'll be checking on another guest, but I'm hoping that maybe we can get him on. He'd be a fabulous guest indeed. But JMD Board, got to have him back on, because dreams are a fascinating topic. Yeah, they really are. So I'm looking to get him on a show. I think it would be really cool to have him on as a guest. All right, let's see. Coming up next, while I'm doing that, I want to remind you that I'll be on again tomorrow, tentatively. I don't know for sure. Tentatively at 3 o'clock Central Daylight tomorrow. 3 o'clock Central Daylight, 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific tomorrow for another Gary Russin program, Saturday Extra. My guest, I'm hoping we can get Ben on tomorrow. I'm really hoping I can get Ben on tomorrow. Last Saturday, he said he'd be on, so things go good. I'm going to check here, see if things are good with him. As a matter of fact, I had a message on my Facebook, so I should go over and check that out. I guess I should do that, right? Because there was a message for me left on Facebook in my messenger, and I didn't have a chance to look at it yet. Yeah, there's one on Messenger. I'm going to wait till that loads up here. I know I had a message. Let's see. Let's see. I got to check that out later. Oh, yeah. My friend Brian Harrison was stuck in the hospital with MSNBC on blaring with no remote to be found, and it's like watching the We Hate Trump. Let's see which Democrat is going to have our next president's channel. If it wasn't sick before coming here, I was. Yeah, I could agree with that one. I think that would just until make me sick anyway. A lot of this stuff does, but Ben Osman, send me a message. I thought it was, I thought so. He sent me a message because I sent him a message, I believe it was yesterday. Let's see. Come on, hurry up. Get up there now. Okay, come on. Let's. If you don't click in the right place, it doesn't come up. I don't know why. But anyway, I'll wait till that comes up. Meanwhile, let's see what we got here. Coming up on GJRB Online. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yeah, okay. Ben Osman did post me a message. He said, I'll be charged up, may have new PC and TV tomorrow. Though, Gary, I'm sorry about your wife. I've been praying, buddy, and have her drink straight lemon juice. It could help a lot. Well, oh, man. Yeah, lemon juice. I've gargled that stuff. It's not pretty. Done that just to clear my throat before airtime. Yeah, wow. Ooh. Well, that would make you pucker. But she's been drinking this cranberry juice, which is supposed to help out, too, as well. Let's see. What else do I have here? Anything else new? But anyway, we'll hope that maybe perhaps we'll have it. So this sounds like he's going to be on with us tomorrow. So tomorrow afternoon, things looking good, looking up. Like I said before, possibility of him being on tomorrow. Hoping we can be on the air tomorrow if things don't happen. Something happens, I will post a cancellation if it's necessary. But if things get a little worse with her and everything. But other than that, I think we'll be okay. And it looks like it's a good to go on getting him on tomorrow. 3 o'clock Central right here on GJRB Online. Ben Osman will be on with us on the Gary Russin program Saturday Extra. 3 o'clock Central Time right here on GJRB Online. 4 o'clock East, 1 o'clock Pacific. And we'll be chatting. And I bet you we got some interesting things to chat about. I'm going to be looking at some really good stuff later on after I get off the air to what to chat about, because we got some really awesome, interesting stuff, if I do say so myself. So we're going to check that out. Meanwhile, it is time for the Coast to Coast AM guest lineup, brought to you by Premier Radio Network. And that's what we're going to do right now, the Premier Radio Network's Coast to Coast AM lineup. But before we do that, I want to remind you that we're going to stay on just a little bit longer here, a little period of about maybe a half hour here on Spreaker. It's 21 minutes after 5 o'clock Central Daylight Time, after 4 o'clock Mountain, and after 3 o'clock Pacific, after 2 o'clock in Alaska. And you're listening to Way Out There, and that's going to do it for that Way Out There show. That was an encore presentation of Way Out There from Friday, July 19th, 2019. So we're going to wrap it up here live on GJRB Online. We're live right now on the GJRB, for the GJRB Spreaker North End Studios. And I'm going to do the Coast to Coast AM current rundown of the guest for Coast to Coast AM for the week of September 20th to September 27th, 2019, as we are now live from the GJRB Spreaker Studios on Clinton's North End, just above the Lions Shopping District, wrapping up our encore presentation of the Way Out There show from July 19th. And I'll give you a preview of our next edition of Way Out There coming up here on GJRB Online. So before we do that, I want to remind you that you can get Coast to Coast AM on many fine radio stations across America that are from the Premier Radio Networks, including WOC Davenport, Iowa, 1420 on the AM dial, WMT Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 600 on the AM dial. And in this general vicinity, if you're listening in different parts of the country, check your local, check the station for the station in your area, and you can do that by going to www.coasttocoastam.com and just go into where it says media, and it'll bring up a map for your local stations, and just pick the area you're at, and it'll tell you the station that picks up Coast to Coast AM. Here's some of the things going on tonight on that Coast to Coast show. It's fabulous. Starting tonight, Ian Punnet's going to take the board, and he's got a guest on there tonight, Mark Alpert. I like to get a hold of this guy for a show. It's a fascinating topic. He's going to discuss the possibility outcomes for technology and what could have gone wrong, including genetic manipulation and climate change, followed by open lines. And then Saturday night, we'll take a look at ancient meteor explosions. Ken Hansen will be the guest of Hebrew language and literature in the history of biblical lands and Jewish and early Christian culture from the University of Central Florida. He'll join Ian Punnet, who will be taking the helm again tomorrow night, to discuss how a meteor explosion in the northeast corner of the Dead Sea will put all but vaporize the ancient world, proving that biblical story is not a fable, helping to explain the concept of the apocalypse. 6 to 10 p.m. on Coast to Coast, there will be Somewhere in Time at 6 to 10 p.m. Pacific Time, which will be 8 o'clock p.m. Central Daylight Time until midnight Central Daylight Time, and 9 o'clock to midnight Eastern. Somewhere in Time with Art Bell brings you back some memories of old Coast to Coast AM, and this time we'll go back to time to September 24th, 1996. September 24th, 1996, Art Bell had a host of a wild night of open lines, talk radio discussing werewolves, missing time due to alien abductions, sleep paralysis, lucid dreaming, OBEs, and the infamous Art's Parts. So I listened to that. That'd be a good one to listen to. I remember that was on. Okay, let's go to Sunday night. For Lying Eyes in Mysterious Antarctic Lake. George Knapp will have the hosting of that program. He's going to have a guest, Donald Hoffman, who will discuss the visual perceptions the visual perceptions are not a window into reality, but instead they are interfaces constructed by natural selection, and objects that we see around us are not alike, unlike the file icons in our computer desktops. And also make the mind-bending yet utterly convincing case that the world is nothing like what we see through our eyes. Interesting. Then we have another guest, Paul Stonehill, in the second half of the show. Is going to discuss new scientific frontiers lying under the Antarctic ice by a gigantic subglobal freshwater lake. This is a good one. Stonehill wonders why the mission chief compared the achievements to placing men on the moon, and will tell us about the hidden research being done there. So that would be a good show. And we're going to take a break here, and we'll pick up on Monday night, September 23rd, and we'll do the 23rd to the 27th coming up after we take this brief break, as we're running at about minute 44 left to go in this segment. So that give me a chance to flip over and quickly and do a station identification again, and get that going. And then we'll be back with more of Way Out There here on GJRB Online as we conclude the Way Out There show for today. The encore presentation of Way Out There here on GJRB Online. In this last segment, we'll give you the wrap-up of our preview of Coast to Coast, and give you a preview of our next episode of Way Out There, a brand new all Way Out There show coming up in October. And I'll let you know exactly. It's a tentative date at this point. Don't know exactly when I'll do it, but it's going to be sometime in October. I'm working on the rundown. It'll be episode 109, and we'll do a preview on that next edition coming up next. So stay tuned for that, and we'll have that one coming up as well. So those are some of the things we're going to do here on GJRB Online here on Spreaker. And I'm Gary J. Russell. Hope you're enjoying the program. Wrap up Way Out There in just a couple of minutes after station ID on the GJRB Online Network. Stay tuned.